Hello, Internet. Hello, nobody at the moment, as this is a little bit impulsive in terms of going live right now. I wanted to. Hello, Awas says hello. The cats are on a new, very strict feeding schedule because one of them is pre-diabetic, and so everyone is getting used to not being free fed anymore because they were just grazing 24/7 before that now, but one of them needs to lose weight. So anyway, cat drama. That's why she's especially grumpy at the moment. So I didn't announce this, so I don't really expect anyone to be here live. I usually do these a little bit earlier in the day, but with the beautiful weather, Toronto is finally easing into a springtime vibe. I wanted to just fucking go for a walk and enjoy that. So now we're here a little bit later than usual, but hopefully some folks will show up. And even if they don't, that's cool. Hello, one person watching so far. Okay, so I wanted to actually, first of all, as I shuffle these, I wanted to plug Magic May a little bit. So those of you guys who've been in my space for a little while will know that last year I did something super, super fun and super cool called Magic May, which was a 31 days of magic group challenge experience. Super, super, super fun. Every single day I sent out to a group texting thing a prompt, an activity, a reflection question, something specifically about witchcraft and magic. And it was honestly the most fun ever. I think we ended up having like 40 people or something last year. I can't remember. And we shared 600 images, tens of thousands of text messages, and it was really awesome. And just from like creeping around the internet, I can see that some people are still connected. Some people made friends through that, or like internet friends, and I just think it's so awesome. And so this year I'm doing Magic May again, but inside my Claim Your Magic community and membership situation, which means that you get even more things than people did last year. So if you do want to join the membership and join out for Magic May, this amazing, super fun challenge type of thing, you can do so by going to claimyourmagicwithsabrina.com/membership. And it's just going to be like the most fun. You guys are going to hear me babble about it probably all the month of May, because I'm super stoked about how it's going to go. Like, I think it'll be really interesting to see how it happens in my new community space. What's different about it is it actually tracks points too. Last year for Magic May, I kind of had to manually track the points, and it was like a little bit intense for me. And then this year, it's kind of automatically tracked within the community space. So I'm really, really stoked for that. And of course, within my Claim Your Magic community, there's already some cards that want to come out. There's already tons of challenges, and some of them are magical, some of them are spiritual, some of them are movement-based, some of them are new experiences. So I'm just stoked to have people on board and hanging out with me on the internet, doing magical things and focusing on living a good life. Like, I think that's just like such a great vibe. So please join up. I think it'll be fun. It's only $37 for a month in the community and the membership. So check it out. Check it out. Check it out. I'll put the link in the chat at some point. But first and foremost, let's just get into the cards for the week ahead. And if you are viewing live and you're a subscriber, feel free to say hello. I know that not everyone is. Some people just might be creeping, and that's okay. But do subscribe because I do this every single week. Okay, so let's see. What are the vibes for this coming week? Honestly, I'm getting really good energy from this week already, personally. I've had a lovely day already, just serendipitously wandering around. I walked past this random wine store, which I didn't even know was there. They make wine, so it's like a winery, but it's very like kind of lo-fi. And the owner who makes all the wine gave me a free bottle of wine to try. How nice is that? And just good energy. It's funny how springtime energy is just, it feels so fresh, and it really does, at least for me, like improve my vibe and my mood. Like, I don't have seasonal depression or anything like that, but the spring energy is just, it feels so refreshing to me, honestly, energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically, all that stuff. I'm out walking more, so it's good. So anyway, let's see what the energy is for the week ahead now that we are finally out of Mercury retrograde, which personally I'm very happy about. Retrograde was fine for me, but it definitely brought up a lot of interesting things to think about. Had like 10 people I used to date message me, which is very typical Mercury retrograde kind of thing. Very interesting. Pointless. So let's see, what is the energy for this week? I've got 100. It's going to be really nice. So let's just pull a few more cards and see what the energy looks like for this week ahead. And these are looking pretty good. All minor arcana so far, which makes sense because the past bunch of readings were mainly majors. And so that makes sense as well with the astrology that we were experiencing before, the eclipse season, retrograde. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it does make sense that we kind of cleared out all of those major arcana vibes, all those big major arcana lessons, all of that, I would say, over the past month, really. So it does make sense that this reading so far is a little bit more like, it's like a breath of fresh air, a little bit of minor arcana stuff. Oh, and as I said that, of course, pulled a major arcana because the tarot lives to be funny that way. And let's see, not too many more cards I'm feeling, just a few. Oh, this card's following me around. Major, major, major. And let's see, 2 more. Actually, some of these majors were around, wow, yeah, I spoke too soon. We've got tons of majors here now, so there you go. All right, I love when the tarot does that. It like tells us our place. It's like you think you know. No, you don't. All right, so let's get into it. What I want to say first is let's look at the elemental balance of this spread. We have 2 different swords, 1 wand, 2 pentacles, no cups. And so from that, we can take, I don't think this week is going to be a very emotional week. I think this week is likely going to be rooted more in, actually, there's 3 pentacles cards. So I would say it's a much more physical kind of week in terms of being in our body, giving ourselves permission to feel the sensations that are happening in our body, grounding in that as a space from which to move forward and like go forth, right? We have to, this week, I would say, embrace the body and look at our resources and all of that physical stuff. Money, of course, our home situation, anything that is our physical resources, we're really going to want to ground into that this week. So I do love that, just first and foremost. All right, so let's get into the cards, my friends. So the first card we've got is the reversed 4 of Swords. And so with this card, we might be feeling a little bit burnt out. I know I can relate to this. But this card is like an acknowledgement of the burnout, an acknowledgement of the need to rest. And so don't push yourself harder than you need to this week. Honor the pace. Honor the pace. Go maybe a little bit more slowly with some certain things than you likely anticipated or planned that that's how it was going to go. Don't kill yourself to meet some kind of arbitrary number, deadline, whatever. Like, I know how this is showing up for me. Actually, I wanted to finish all of the drawings for my next graphic novel by the end of the day, and I have 17 drawings left to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to do those before I go to bed, so I'm just going to do as many as I can and then space the rest of them out for the rest of the week and just be fine with that being my pace. So don't totally like lock yourself away this week. Keep with your goals, keep with your pace, but don't push yourself to the point of exhaustion and uselessness, right? Sometimes if we do that, if we ignore the need to rest mentally, especially, and I think this is especially true with my project that I just mentioned. We need to honor our mental capacity, and some things are, oh, hello. I don't know if you guys can see her, but she's like, she was jumping up. How cute. Hey, Waz. She wants to read the cards with us as well. Let me just grab her so she shuts up. All right. So the thing is, with this reversed 4 of Swords, we're going to want to make sure that we pace ourselves again. Don't overload ourselves mentally, because sometimes the heavy weight of a project is not necessarily the energy it takes to do the project. It's like the mental capacity it takes to do something. So just to give you guys an example, the graphic novel I'm working on, it's pretty straightforward, but mentally and emotionally, it's a little bit of a heavy thing to work through because it's about trauma and blah, blah, blah. And there's some kind of autobio stuff in there, memoir type of stuff. And so even though like realistically, I could probably draw if it was like 17 pages of flowers. If it was just 17 pages of flowers about nothing, I could definitely do that by the end of the day. But since it's 17 pages of like trauma memoir, it's like, uh, maybe not. Maybe we need to pace that out. And so this is basically what this card means for us all this week. Obviously, it's going to show up for everyone in a different type of way, because I'm sure not everyone is working on a memoir or a graphic novel or whatever. But notice the mental load that you're taking on this week. Notice what your mental capacity is. Notice reflections, triggers, patterns, stresses, all of that type of stuff. And just be really honest with yourself about what is your capacity. I'm trying to keep AWAS in the frame. Be honest with yourself about what is your capacity for whatever it is that you need to be doing this week. And of course, the cat's like stepping on the cards. Thank you, AWAS. Don't push yourself past the point. I would say this is not the week for it. There's going to be other weeks where it's like, yes, push through no matter what, like lose that sleep, feel like shit, do the thing. Like there's absolutely going to be weeks like that. I would say this is not one of those weeks. Just like honor yourself with whatever that mental, emotional pace is. And I would say this is particularly going to show up in areas of thinking, mental health, trauma recovery stuff. If we still have any triggers or things that are kind of like a little bit prickly, that is some stuff to be really patient with yourself this week and give yourself grace around your pace with how you're showing up in regards to all of that stuff. Very, very important. So give yourself some grace. Don't push yourself past your limits. Like maybe just a tiny smidge, but not excessively, right? We're going to want to honor those mental limits this week in order to get the most out of the week ahead. So next up, we've got the Ace of Wands. And this is a really lovely card. I would say this backs up that message from the Four of Swords reversed quite nicely. This is going to be a week where we do feel some fresh energy coming in, maybe some fresh motivation, some fresh excitement, perhaps some reconnection to our life purpose or our vocation or whatever it is that we feel we're here in the world to do. Wands, thank you, AWAS. Wands do tend to be very much about our energy and how our energy, our passion, our inner fire is showing up. And so since this is upright, since this is an ace, it really is all about allowing yourself to ride the wave, and I'm mixing metaphors here, but like ride the wave of that fresh air, ride the wave of that fresh energy, allow yourself to embrace it and create the space, which I think is why we don't want to be exhausting ourselves too much, but create the space to give yourself that time and energy to just be able to ride those waves whenever it is that they come up. Embrace this. I would say this is a really lovely wind in our sails with whatever it is that we've got going on in our lives. Really, really quite lovely. Next up, Two of Pentacles, upright. Very interesting card. I would say this is a nudge to be very aware of. Be very, very aware of, how do I phrase this? Be aware of who we are merging our finances with. Be aware of our financial decisions. Be really aware about money sharing. Be really hyper vigilant about financial abuse. Be really hyper vigilant around if the people you're hiring are ripping you off. Be really vigilant around any which way that our money is blending with other people's money. Right? Be very lucid in terms of your decision making around what your boundaries are with this stuff. My advice with this would be don't allow, and this leads into the next card, reverse Page of Pentacles. Don't allow money to cause you to blind you to your values, like to abandon your values, right? So this is something that we can see happening a lot, and I see this happen a lot, unfortunately. And I'm saying this because the Page of Pentacles is reversed and not upright. So there's an immaturity about the page when it's reversed. A little bit childish, a little bit short-sighted, especially when it comes to money. And when we see this upright, there's a loveliness to this, right? The relationship between the figure and the pentacle, it looks very precious, honoring, loving in a way, respecting that pentacle. But when this card is reversed, it really, the greed of it can come out in a way that it does not come out when this card is upright. right? So there's an immaturity, I would say, when this card shows up reversed, especially when we see it in conjunction right after this card, right? Very good idea to do a financial audit right now and be like, do I feel like there's people are manipulating me with money, whether that's family or friends or whatever, which way? Are you maybe giving more than you can afford to like that family member who's like struggling but never pays you back, even though they say they're going to? Like, it's just kind of an example of how this can show up, this type of situation. I would say, yeah, financial abuse also. Be aware. People's parents often do this shit. So be aware, sometimes even in romantic relationships, this can happen. So be very hyper vigilant about that. Do a little bit of an audit to see where you stand with this. Okay. And maybe you do the audit and you're like, oh, everything's cool. Great. Wonderful. High five to you. But still take the time to reflect on that. All right. I'm going to leave that there because I know that's not going to be a pleasant one for a lot of folks. Next up, the Lovers reversed. So I do love this card. It's not a typical romance card though. So let's talk about this. The other name for this card is the choice or the two roads, the two paths, right? I'm not going to get into the biblical symbolism, blah, 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 blah. It's not what we're doing today. There's not a class on that. But this card is so much about the choices that we make, right? Feelings of obligation versus true authenticity is often what this card brings to the forefront when it comes up in a reading. And I would say that is a big lesson for us to walk with this week. Are we making our decisions based on obligation to other people, to society, to whatever timeline we think we need to have, whether that's white picket fence, 2.5 kids, bought a house, blah, 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 whether all of that crap, like I would say that some people genuinely choose that and genuinely love that. And I think that's wonderful. High five to those folks. I'm not knocking that. What I am saying is that a lot of people don't choose that type of life or fill in the blank, whatever type of life, out of actual conscious choice. They choose it out of obligation, kind of just like following the routines of society and just doing like a robot what people tell them to do, right? And so whenever this Lovers card comes up, it's asking us, okay, let's just take a moment, let's take a breath and see, are we actually making decisions? Are we making choices, especially the big choices in our life? Who to marry, where to live, what kind of job we want to have, do we want to have kids? All of this type of these big life questions. Are we making our decisions on those big life questions based on childhood trauma narratives, societal narratives about what equals a good life? Or does it come from a heartfelt, authentic place where it's like, no, I'm doing this because this is what feels right in my body. This is what feels right to me. This is what feels authentic and true and real to me as a person. And this is how I want to live my life because that's what feels good to me, right? And so this card is like, all right, let's look and see, how are we making our choices? How much of it is directed by obligation to family or society or whatever happens to be, and how much of our choices actually come from the heart? Okay, I think I might need to pick her up again. Let's see. And so that card, the Lover, is reversed. I would say what it's asking us to think about for this week is, let's sit up, it was, is how can we move towards a more heartfelt and authentic life? How can we make more choices from that place as opposed to moving from obligation? And that often leads to resentment when we make choices based on obligation rather than from the heart. And so this card, when it's upright, it's like we're acknowledging that there is a choice before us. We're kind of aware of the obligation, the heart, that conflict. But when this card shows up reversed, it's like we're likely not thinking about that. We're likely not as aware of that as we maybe should be, could be. So that is something to keep in mind this week. Can we return to that heartfelt, heart-centered place and make our decisions, especially the big decisions of our life, based on authenticity, heart-centeredness, healing, and what actually feels intuitively right to us? We all do have that choice. I know a lot of people don't feel like they do, but that's a big one. That's a big one. Okay, so next up, I'm going to talk about this card, which I think is in some ways related to that one. Like a cat hair is like all up in my throat. Okay, so 3 of Swords reversed. What the fuck does this mean? Especially in conjunction with that Lovers card reversed. This card is so much about that heart-head clash, which is interesting because it's a similar type of thing that we see in the Lovers card, but it's coming at the same kind of idea a little bit sideways, right? It's like here in this card, we know that what we might want with one side of it, again, whether that's the heart of the head, is ultimately not great for us. This is the only card. I'm just going to try to show it to you guys. It's weird because this is like backwards. I'm still not fully used to the flipped YouTube screen. So this is the only tarot card in the Rider-Waite-Smith with rain. Right? Rain. Cloudy day of rain, right? And so what are we doing? What choices are we making? What thoughts are we thinking? What beliefs do we have that ultimately are just us stabbing ourselves in the heart? Can we pull those swords out of our heart, heal our heart, and decide to live in a different way? I need to put the cat down and have some water. Too much cat hair is like making my throat all scratchy. And it's a tough thing, this card, right? Because we all do kind of come up to this decision, this awareness at some point in our lives about something, right? We've all desired something that we know mentally is not good for us, but our heart might want it. And so we do it anyway, and we end up sad, miserable, or like heartbroken, literally heartbroken here, right? And so a big part of this card, I would say, is for some reason I feel called to say all of life is hard. Choose your hard. Choose your hard. Is it going to be a hard that is rooted in authenticity and maybe disappointing people? Or is it going to be a hard that is based on doing something that that we ultimately know is never going to work out? It's a very tough place to be, right? This kind of crossroads. But I do think we know how to deal with that. Knight of Pentacles. Slow and steady wins the race. Is the only knight that is completely still, not moving. Every other knight has some form of movement. And so in a series of cards, the knights do tend to be about movement. We're on a horse. Hey, Waz, what is your deal? All of the knights are on horses, right? So there is always this allusion to and reference to movement, moving from point A to point B, transitions, all of that. And yet this is the only one that is still. And so what we can take from that for this week is we likely are going to need to slow down, to stop what we're doing, maybe halt some of those decisions that we're thinking of making in order to really see what's going on and to really assess the situation in such a way that we really get to see the state of things. If we keep going, if we keep moving, if we keep doing, if we keep doing the stuff that we've been doing, living life, blah, 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 not taking this time to rest and take our time and all of that, chances are we're going to end up somewhere here. So this is very much about the importance of slowing down and seeing where we are. And it's safe to do that. It's good to do that. It's not avoidant to do that this week. Slow it down so you can see clearly what situation actually is. So next up, we've got some more majors. Love that. And a lot of these are very yellow majors. But first of all, let's talk about this. The Death card reversed. referencing horses, right? Knight of Pentacles, got a fun horse. I'll show you guys this, even though remember the Death card was reversed. People on horses, movement, change, transformation, transition, right? And so this Death card reverse, I would say, looking at it next to that Knight of Pentacles, are we avoiding transformation? Are we avoiding death? Are we avoiding certain choices that we know we need to be making? Transformation is an inevitable aspect of life. I would say it's best when we embrace it. It's best when we choose it rather than when it chooses us. That can be a little bit unpleasant. And so the extent to which you can control it, choose it, etc., great. I would say a message of this card is we also have more choices than we think we do, especially with this Lovers card backing us up. But all of life is change. Aspects of ourselves, our personalities, our habits, our routines, the people in our life, the places we go, needs to die, needs to be gone in order for us to be reborn and to make room for that next best, brightest, better, more aligned, more authentic version of ourselves. So don't fight the death. This is a great card, really. We just have to be willing to embrace it, right? Don't fight the death card. Embrace the transition, the transformation, the liminality. What's on the other side of that is quite lovely. And what's on the other side of that are two really lovely majors. Yellow, and in the tarot, yellow tends to be good vibes. The Fool and the Empress. The Empress personally has been following me around for the last few months, which is great. I love this card. The Fool is all about these new beginnings. We can only access the power, the potency of this kind of new beginning, the Fool energy, when we embrace the Death card, when we make decisions based on the wisdom of the Lovers card, when we take into consideration that Three of Swords reversed as well. A lot of stuff going on here. So for this week, we're really going to have to go into ourselves and do this internal alchemical transformation, reflection, etc., with all of these cards that we've already talked about already. And how can we alchemize that? How can we compose that into the new beginning and this exciting energy of the Fool? Because the Fool is a wonderful energy, like so great, excited, full of wonder, not jaded at life, hopeful, excited, right? This is a fucking awesome energy to embrace and embody this week. And conjoined with this lovely Empress card, soft power, feminine power, basking in the physical, basking in the sensory, basking in the sensual. And I'm not talking sex, I'm talking creativity. It can be sex for some of y'all, maybe, because that's the same chakra system, right? Sex chakra and creativity, art chakra is the same thing, interestingly. It's that energy of creation, manifestation, that movement from word to world and back again and back again. How can we get there? What needs to die? What needs to go? What needs to be reborn? What financial things need to be cut? What choices do we need to make? And what hard truths do we need to accept in order to get to where we want to go, to be in this type of place? And I hate the word pure because what the fuck does that even mean? But I do feel like there is an energetic purity with these two cards. And I think what I really mean by that is a space of authenticity, being in full alignment with the self, with your heart, with who you are, and feeling free enough to externalize that. Even if it means allowing some of those dead leaves to shed off of our bodies. And I'm going to leave that there. Cryptic enough, mystical enough, hopefully. I really fucking love those cards for this week, to be honest. I think these are really fun. Really positive, bright, uplifting cards. optimistic, also very real. So we're being called to do some important work this week on ourselves. But I don't know. These are just fun. Like, I like these cards a lot. And so next up, I am going to pull some oracle cards to finish us off for the day. Okay, first of all, from the Sassy Oracle. What does the Sassy Oracle have to tell us? Oh my god. Hi, Black Cats and Hurricanes. Yeah, Beltane tomorrow. I don't really celebrate Beltane that much anymore. I was really into it when I was a kid, when I was like 13. It was like my favorite Sabbath when I was 13, which makes sense. It's also like very much like a maiden energy kind of Sabbath. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like my energy has been elsewhere in my practice the last few years. Maybe I'll return to it at some point. But absolutely, if that is an important day for you, huge energy tomorrow for that, which I love, love, love. Are you doing anything for it? Or how are you honoring this moment? And it's nice to see you on here. I feel like it's been a while. All right, so how bad do you want it? How bad do you want what you want? What are you willing to do for it? To me, that brings us to that choice card, the Lovers. I'm going to draw one more from this deck. Actually, no, two more. I love this. I'm going to put this on my vision board, actually. Attitude is the difference between an ordeal or an adventure. This card is so awesome. I just fucking love this. And it's true as hell, too. Let's see. Black Cats and Hurricane says Seasons of the Witch Oracles has a deck of cards for each Sabbath. Yeah, I feel like you must have mentioned that before because I feel like I looked it up. And you know what? This is my secret. I'm not super into the Sabbaths in a Wiccan way. That's my secret. I'm way more into just looking at it simply from that astrological point of view rather than seeing it from the Wiccan Wheel of the Year point of view. And like the harvest festivals and whatever. Like that used to be a bigger part of my practice, but now I'm just like solstices and equinoxes. That is more my vibe. But let's see. Oh my God, Jen. Jen says Sag Sun, Virgo rising, same on both counts. And you're a Libra moon. I'm a Cancer moon. So we have a similar chart, my friend. That's so cool. Wow, I just realized the cat is like climbing. I've never seen her do that. She's on top of the fridge. Choya. Okay, well, the cat is climbing on top of the fridge. Lovely. Jen from Ireland says, cards are on point. Thanks, girl. No problem. My absolute pleasure. I'm happy to have you here. That's cool. And yeah, I'll check out the decks. I don't think I'll end up getting them, though, to be honest with you. That's just me. But I respect that everyone loves different decks, and I think that's cool. It's cool that they exist. I just don't think they're for me. And then this says, oh no, this is our other oracle card. Oh no. And it's actually kind of interesting. The house is in both of these. This looks like the same house. And so if this house is us, if this house is our life, what will we do to shake up our life, ourself, our habits to get this house in the order that we would like it to be in? Very important. I'm keeping this one out. I'm putting this on my little cork board by my bed. Attitude is the difference between an ordeal or an adventure. This is the most true thing I've ever heard. I think a lot of people think that mindset and positive thinking is bullshit, but it really fucking isn't. Like, it really makes all the difference between anything. And ever since I really started embracing that shit in my life, like, stuff just doesn't fucking bother me. It just doesn't. Oh, there's the cat again. Troya, what are you doing? Come on. She does not care. She is just hanging out up there. Do you guys see the cat? Where is she? I'm trying to do it when it's... She is so silly. Choya, what are you doing? I keep bags on top of the fridge between, so I'll show you guys. So that's the fridge. There's all the, like, all my grocery bags are where she's going. And sometimes I wake up and all the grocery bags are like on the ground. And I've always wondered why. And now I know it's because the cat, I've never seen her jump up there. And that's actually fucking crazy that she jumps up there. Like, oh my God, she's insane. I love her, but she's mental. They're just looking for cat food because now I've been rationing them because my boy is pre-diabetic. And so I used to free feed them. So now they're just like running around looking for food everywhere. Anyway, let me just look at the chat. So scruffy looking Nerf herder. I don't know how to say that. So happy to catch you live. Oh my God. Yeah. Thankfully that you are here. That's exciting. What time zone are you in? Scruffy human? Whatever gender, which way you are, I do not know, but glad that you're here. It's very exciting. And yes, Black Cats and Hurricane says, oh, you're in Eastern time. Same. I'm also in Eastern time. Let's see. And Black Cats and Hurricane says some very good historical positive thinking books out there. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I agree. You guys, my cats have been like grumpy and kind of, the girls have been beating each other up because they're used to being free fed. And now they're not. And let's see. Yeah, you're saying it's not a ghost, just a cat knocking them off the fridge. Yeah, I kind of figured, but I've actually never seen her do it. So it was kind of crazy to actually see her do it through the YouTube, which is kind of wild. Hey, you guys. Hey. But guys, I mean girls. That's the two girl cats trying to stab each other. Oh, Sam. Oh my God. I feel like it's been a while since you've been here too. From Australia. Happy to catch the live. Yay. And you sent like two of my favorite emojis. And Scruffy says, been seeing lots of real content from you on Instagram regarding IP. Thanks for speaking out. You know what? Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate you for saying that because I have lost multiple friends, like real people I know in real life, multiple friends over my stance on that. And I've lost clients over it. Like I've received, it's funny, my cats are arguing when we're talking about this. You guys, chill, please. Yeah, I got a few really nasty messages from people who I guess used to admire me or whatever. And one of them called me an obnoxious influencer. So I'm planning to make a sweater that says that. I think it would be kind of funny. You know, like whatever. It's just bizarre that some people think that I give a shit that they think that about me. It's like, okay. It's disappointing. What I would say is the most disappointing thing about it is, hey, relax. I would say the most disappointing thing about it is that people are not willing to look outside their bubble. Like they're not willing to look and consider things from a different point of view. And so, like, I used to think, obviously, the other side. I used to think the other way around. I used to be pro P, so to speak. And now I'm pro I. And I was pro P for a very long time. Like there's a graphic novelist who was my biggest inspiration in comics, who did 2 books on the region. And I remember when I met him, I felt like I could die happy. Like I was so, enthralled by that. And just his work is still some of my favorite. But now I'm kind of wondering, like, was that just propaganda? Like, I hope not. Like, I'm going to have to read it again and just see what the deal is and was. But, it's an issue that even though I thought I was pretty educated on, I decided to ask myself, what if I'm wrong? Let's go find out. And I think part of what gave me the strength to do that actually was chatting about it with a few Jewish friends. And, saying my stance, and then they said their stance. And they said a few of them said a few things where I was like, huh. And they didn't demonize me, they didn't bully me, they didn't insult me or whatever. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should look into this more from the other side and just be open-minded and see what I could find. And so I did a podcast episode about this, as you've mentioned, Scruffy. Yeah. And you're saying, I love your podcast episodes about it as well. You love witchy stuff, but you also love politics. I've always loved politics. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved politics. And yeah, I decided to look into it and just be like, what if I'm wrong? What if there's things that I really don't know about this that would change my mind? And so what's really been interesting about this is, instead of people saying, oh, Sabrina's like pretty smart and stuff, so if she changed her mind about this due to doing more research, then maybe she's probably onto something, or I'm going to look at this with curiosity. But that's really not what happened, even though, not to like pat myself on the back, but like to have the bravery to change your mind publicly and to say, I think I was wrong about that, or there's more, I've learned more information, or the situation has changed geopolitically to the extent that my mind has been changed. To be able to say that in public when you've got a decent sized audience, like I do, like I'm not fucking famous or anything, but like my audience is big enough that it does matter when I say things. And the tides can sway in various directions, right? And I think that's a brave and courageous thing to do, actually, on my part, to be like, hey, I've changed my mind, even though like the sexy opinion to have on the internet is to be like a watermelon person right now. And that is like the sexy opinion, right? And I just don't hold that opinion. And so it's very risky for me to say what I'm saying about this topic. Like, I've lost clients. It has negatively affected my bottom line. It has negatively affected my follower count. And I've decided that I'm fine with that because I believe in integrity. And I could not live with myself if I said publicly something that I don't believe in order to like not upset the audience. You know, it's really interesting. And Samson says there's a third side, world peace. Yeah, and like, you know, I'm all about that. I think that's a totally great concept. And I think it's only possible to really approach world peace when we have the real grounding in history, like real historical facts. And I feel like I did not expect to talk about this right now, but I guess we're going to. Unfortunately, a lot of the discourse is emotion driven, and it's emotional, and it's big accusations, big aggressive words that everyone is emotionally charged about. And there's a lot of that flying around. Do you want to be a good person? Do you want to be a bad person? Good identities, bad identities, all of this type of thing. But not much of it is grounded in like the actual historical reality of the situation. And I just feel like I was talking to someone about this on my DMs earlier today. And I was talking about how I learned about all this stuff in like world history in high school when I was living in America, in Colorado. And when I moved to Canada, there was like no world history class in my high school. Like, it just didn't exist. And so there was no education when I moved here around global historical geopolitics. I got that education in the United States in fucking middle school and high school to a pretty intense degree. Like, we learned all about like the Ottoman Empire and like the difference between Sunni and Shia Islam. Like, I learned all of that stuff in like grade 10 in the United States. Whereas, like, I don't really know any grown-ass adult university educated people at any of those protests who can tell you anything about either of those things. And anyway, I just think education is really important. And I think education around history is really important. And I think it's really easy to be emotional and get swept up in emotions and get swept up in wanting to be seen as a good person, that we forget to be grounded in like historical reality of the situation. I think it's really only through understanding of history is peace anywhere actually possible. And let's see, Scruffy is saying, being open, evolution of thought is beyond important. You have the same journey regarding this conflict and other current issues too, so you totally relate. And Sam says, yes, 100. Scruffy says, trigger words, stop think words, accusations, and assumptions. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really unfortunate. And I think one of the most depressing things to me about it is, so as you guys probably know, if you've been following my work for a while, you'll know that I am planning on defending my PhD later this year. And since the PhD is very solitary work, I haven't seen a lot of my cohort for a few years. There's been a pandemic and we've all finished coursework ages ago, but I'm still connected with my PhD cohort on social media. And a lot of them, people who I otherwise thought were intelligent, smart, inquisitive, critical thinking people, are just posting all of this type of stuff, which is so not based in reality. It's just emotions and whatever. And I have some screen caps on my phone, which I have not shared. I'm still trying to think on if I will. And I wouldn't share this with people's names attached, but it's just like the sorts of things that some people have said is like very shocking to me. The level of dehumanization, the level of willful ignorance. There's this phrase, useful idiots, that has been swirling around, that a lot of these Western university educated, like humanities educated kids, young adults, full-on adults, are just the useful idiots of fill in the blank. And it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that this is the state of the world. And I do feel like we're just so polarized. And I think a lot of the polarization is based on ignorance and a lack of critical thinking and a lack of being willing to look at the other side. And I think a lot of people, especially on the left, especially a lot of academics, a lot of activists, they have all these ideas about what the other side is, but it's all just made up fantasies in their brain. It's like random shit that they think is real. And it's like they don't actually bother to go read the books by those people or to listen to those podcasts or to go to a lecture by whoever they think they're going to hate. They don't actually do that. So they don't really know. So it's like based on all these kind of straw man arguments and ideas about what something is. But if you really feel like strongly about your beliefs, if you really believe what you're saying, and if you're really committed to that, you should feel confident enough to be able to go into like the dragon's den or whatever, the monster's lair, and like read the fucking book by the guy who you are assuming you're going to hate. Just read the book. Then you'll know what their argument is. And so I think that's so important. It's like a thing that a lot of people seem to have forgotten how to do, is to like actually genuinely try to understand what does the other side think and why. Why? And maybe that means we're going to switch sides, like I happen to with this conflict issue. But maybe we go and learn about the other side, and maybe our opinion becomes even more well-informed. That's also an option. And it's very disappointing to me. It just really is. Because I wanted to think that everyone was smarter than this, what we're seeing. I wanted to believe that about humanity. But that's not where we're at. And let's see, Scruffy is saying, you had friends ditch you for saying it's crazy to drop friends for difference of political views. People who have been ride or die, gone to each other's weddings, held each other's newborn babies, etc. The far left has pushed you towards conservatism. I agree with that. This shocks people because I also used to be far left, but now I would... And I don't actually really keep up too much with what's going on in the United States in terms of their political categories. So, like, I don't know. But in terms of the Canadian political system, which is different from the American political system, I definitely am a conservative now. And I've voted every party. Up in Canada, we've got multiple parties. We have, I guess, 4, 5 main parties. The 3 main parties are the Liberal, the NDP, which is like the most hippie woke party, the New Democratic Party, and then the Conservatives. And so I have voted for every single party in my life, and now I'm more on the conservative side of things. And it's interesting that the more educated I become, the more conservative I get, which is very interesting. I did not expect that to happen. But I think you're making a really important point, right, about how the far left right now, the way it is, it's very tribalist. It's very extreme. It's very dehumanizing towards anyone who disagrees with them. And they're very much disposing of people who disagree with them, right? They just see anyone who disagrees as, okay, you're dehumanized, so you're disposable. Very weird. I haven't seen that happen on the other side. I just have not seen that happen. It doesn't exist in that same way. And I think that's because the far left is so based on moral purity and that whatever, where it's like if anything is adulterated or contaminated, they want to get rid of you rather than seeing you as a full person who's complex, because people are complex. And Scruffy, yeah, one more thing I want to say about that, actually, about people, friends ditching you. So before I switched sides from being pro P to pro I, and you guys know what I mean. Someone I literally have known in person for like 5 years, like I've slept at this woman's house. Before I switched sides, because I was not in the streets, because I was not posting every 2 seconds, and this woman owed me like $2,000 or something. She just like excommunicated me as a friend without a single word, without a single conversation, and posted all this shit about real witches are out in the streets being activists. And this was even before I switched sides. So this woman like totally excommunicated me. And this woman is like mid-40s, by the way. So like very childish, fucked up behavior. She did that before I even switched sides because I wasn't far radical enough for her without even telling me. Very weird. Very weird. And so this type of behavior in this group is normalized as like being moral and good and what we should be doing. And I just find that very weird. It's not healthy. Like to me, there's some kind of like pathological illness being acted out when people do that shit. I did not expect to talk about this today, you guys. But hey, whatever. It's an interesting conversation, right? And I'm glad, Scruffy, that you brought this up, even though I really did not anticipate to talk about this today. Because I do think it's true, right? Like witchiness exists within a fucking world of things. And being in the world, like we are not just witches. We're also like parents, students, business owners. We're also like all these other things. And we exist in relationship to so much, so many people, so many different things. We're all going to be dealing with all of this fucking stuff. And let's see, Desmond Felix. Hi, Desmond. I see you here. You're saying in the chat, maybe you just outgrow shit. You're left wing, but you feel imperialism is the world's biggest issue. You need to respect each other's flaws. Yeah, totally. And you know what? Like, this is actually something I've changed as well since I've become more conservative, is now I don't care what your politics are. If you want to be a student of mine, if you want to be a client, if you want to be in my spaces, if you are a Trump supporter, you are still welcome in my community. You know, my community, my Claim Your Magic community, we do have a rule. Actually, I made the rule, obviously, of let's not talk about politics in the community because that's not what that place is for. But I don't care. Like, people are still deserving of spirituality. People are still deserving of my teaching, my conversation, my respect, like if they are showing up and they want to learn. Whereas before, I used to have a rule on my sales page for the courses where it's like, if you are a Trump supporter, you're not allowed. And I totally think that's so dumb now that I said that back when I was, younger and more lefty. And so, it's interesting that as I become more conservative, I've actually become more accepting of other people. Isn't that interesting? Whereas the lefty, wokey people they're so quick to write people off. They're so quick to, like Desmond is saying, Like you're saying, Desmond, we need to respect each other's flaws, and they don't. Like they want people to be this like perfect idea, but like what perfect is, it's like this moving target. And now they're just, I don't know if you guys saw back Columbia, they like smashed the windows of the university and took a janitor hostage. How, like, what? How did we get here? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And as someone who's an academic, I will always be an academic, even if I don't ever teach in a university again. I was a professor for 4 years. And to see the way that these people are behaving, it's like a cult. Like it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. And let's see, Scruffy is saying it's so much deeper than politics. It's like you say about humanity, and it's exposing how we treat each other. It's disposable and dehumanize others. Absolutely. And so I've gone on a rant about this before, but I'll repeat it now because I think it's relevant. If you guys remember the Charlie Hebdo massacre shooting thing in France, some journalists were making fun of Muhammad, and they drew a picture of him, I think, which is like not allowed in Islam. And so they're like a satirical political magazine of France. They just take the shit out of everyone. They just make fun of everyone. But anyway, some of the Muslim extremists were very mad about this and went and killed people. They killed the cartoonists over this. And so when that happened, the Facebook and everything, like there was these memes you could make. You could add this little filter to your profile picture that says "Je suis Charlie," which means I am Charlie, which means I am Charlie Hebdo. Like I am identifying myself as the same with that, right? But my issue with this is it's an ethics based on sameness. And so in my opinion, ethics shouldn't be based on sameness. It should not be based on understanding, needing to understand others. True ethics, in my opinion, is based on otherness, right? Being able to extend someone ethics, extend someone respect, let's say, even if we don't have any idea, we can't relate to them, let's say. And this is very like Levinas philosophy type of stuff. This is like a little bit philosophy land. I don't know if you guys know this. My PhD that I'm working on is in philosophy of science. My master's was in environmental studies, and my focus was environmental philosophy. So I am very much a philosopher at heart in terms of how do I think and how am I approaching a lot of this stuff. But the reason I'm saying this in regards to this current political conflict and the extremism is what I notice with the left these days is if you're not the same as them, they're not interested. They're not interested in understanding. You're just a non-entity. And for me, that's not what ethics is really about, and that's not what humanity is about. Humanity should be about respecting and understanding through difference, right? That's my rant about that. I feel like I've lost a few folks with my little rant, and that's cool. But let me just catch up with the chat. And Scruffy is saying it's so much deeper than politics. It's like you say about humanity. Yeah. Exposing how we treat each other is disposable and dehumanize other people. Yeah. And Sam is saying you've lost clients too. You have a Scorpio and Libra stellium in the 12th. You always say that you don't need to be right. You just need to be heard in a balanced discussion. Absolutely. And I think that's the crucial thing that right now we're missing is like there's not a lot of balanced discussion. There's not a lot of discussion at all between groups, between ideas. Like it's people kind of stay in these little silos and then they become even more entrenched and even more radicalized. And they don't even have a conversation with someone who might disagree with them or be on the other side of things. And then that's not good. And let's see, Black Cats and Hurricanes is saying, you're totally on point, Sabrina. Thank you. Scruffy is saying, need a podcast episode on cults and parallels of the far left, LMAO. Yes, totally. You know what? It's in my brain. I'm sure I'll write it at some point. And you know what? I'll probably end up writing a book about all this shit at some point because I do think it's important. And I have so much to say about this, but it is nice to talk it out with you guys. And let's see, Black Cats and Hurricanes saying this political problem goes so deep. Yeah, I agree with you completely, Black Cats. I think it really started with the pandemic and all of that stuff where everyone just like reality takes a different shape to different people. And when we can't agree on what reality is, then democracy becomes difficult. The whole concept of democracy is based on everyone agreeing on what reality is. Anyway, Desmond is saying sameness is the curse of the Enlightenment. Yeah. I like difference. I think multiplicity and plurality are cool. Like, I like the movement towards diversity in, to be honest, like settler countries. Like, I like that Canada and United States are so diverse. Like, I like that the UK is so diverse. Like, it's kind of an experiment. It's like never been done in history, really, in the way that it's being done now. And I think people forget, and I was saying this to someone on the DMs earlier today, it's so fragile, like this state of freedom and plurality and liberalism. It's very beautiful, it's very important, it's very fragile, and I think people take it for granted. Anyway, that's my rant about this. I did not think I was going to talk about this today, you guys. Hey, tarot time plus politics. All right. Black Cat says, best of wishes, Serena. Take care, girl, to you and your kitties. Best, everyone in the chat as well. Oh, thank you, Black Cat. So nice to have you here. I love that. Yeah, I did not think the conversation was going to go in this direction today, but I really appreciate, Scruffy, you mentioned that you appreciate what I'm posting on the Instagrams about this. Because, yeah, I get a lot of hate for what I post on Instagram stories about this topic. A lot of hate. And it's been really cool when my clients and my audience base has been able to grow with me and to come on this journey with me of critical thinking and, looking at things a little bit more strategically and more analytically. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, just don't have the capacity or the interest. And that's totally cool, I guess. But it also just means our journey converges and goes in two different directions. So it is nice that some people are sticking around. Let's see. Scruffy has said, you speaking out has inspired me, and I've had people in my life say the same once you started posting reviews. So thank you for the ripple. Oh my God. Thank you for the ripple. I appreciate that. And thank you for letting me know that I have been a ripple in that way. I really, really appreciate that. And, I haven't done my YouTube live about the eclipse yet, but I probably should do that at some point soon. But this is going to sound silly, but it was actually being at the total solar eclipse that convinced me that I need to stop being to be fucking crude, but stop being such a fucking pussy about my views. Because it is true that there was a time when I was younger when I didn't give a fuck. I had less of an audience. No one really knew who I was. Maybe it was before my book came out or just after, like Witchbody. But I was like mid-20s, didn't give a fuck. I still had this like aggressive attitude and just did not care. And I was very blunt about all of my opinions. And I just was fearless. And somewhere along the line, once you become more and more known, and all of this, then it's like, oh shit, I have something to lose. Maybe I shouldn't be so much of a bitch on the internet. And so like opinionated about this and that. And so I kind of felt myself being a bit fearful and being a bit smaller than I wanted to be and being a little bit less blunt than I wanted to be. And with the total solar eclipse, being there in person, I know you guys probably saw the videos on Instagram, and probably heard the podcast episode about it. There was something so cosmic about it, and I feel like it really unlocked that side of me again. This permission to not give a fuck and to be very authentic and outspoken in my beliefs and my opinions and my views. And so if you guys have noticed me being more straightforward and more unapologetic about my views on the whole IP thing, that's why. It's because I really feel like the total solar eclipse like cleansed me of fear. And I realize that might sound crazy. But I feel like when you're in that experience, like it's completely life-changing. And I want to try to go to the next one, which I believe is in 2026. It's going to Spain and Iceland. So I want to be there. I feel like I need to experience it again. I'm like getting chills as I'm talking about it. But being in that experience, like where it's like the moon is blocking the sun, it's like this perfect like like you just see it lined up, and you see our place in the universe, like Earth, Moon, Sun. It's like in this perfect line, and you're there to witness it, to be in it, to just bask in the energy. It cleansed me in a way. That sounds very religious, and I guess it kind of is in a way. Being witchy, it's like that is part of our worship system, is thinking about planets and stars and all of this stuff. So it was a really religious experience for me in a way. And I do feel very cleansed by it because it really just gave me perspective. Like, I'm a small speck in the universe. Who gives a fuck if some random asshole on the internet is mad at me? Who gives a fuck if some person decides to dispose of me because they disagree with my politics? Like, okay, bye. Who cares? And so it's kind of given me, the total solar eclipse, I feel, has given me this permission to be fearlessly authentic again in the way that I was in my early 20s when I had nothing to lose because I had nothing. And now that I have things to lose, it's harder to be that authentic and that opinionated in public. But I've decided I'm going to do it anyway. And there's a lot of people who inspire me in that regard. And so, yeah, it's something I'm stepping into more lately. And let's see, Scruffy is saying, love the capital A authenticity, baby. Love it. Had a realization where I was like, why am I so concerned with keeping people around who would hate me if they saw me for who I really am? Fucking exactly. Yes. This is the thing, is people are going to hate you anyway. People are always going to hate you anyway, no matter what you do. No matter which version of yourself you show to the world, half people are going to love you, half people are going to hate you. No matter what. They might as well love you and hate you for who you really are. And apparently Awaz agrees. Yes. And yeah, and I just did an episode about this at like 2 a.m, actually, for my podcast on authenticity and loss and how I feel like they're interconnected. And so I think that's something we all kind of have to contend with at some point, right? It's like, if we are being really, truly authentic to who we are from our heart space, our soul, our real authenticity, there is, by definition, going to be loss that comes as a result of that. Because not everyone is for us. And maybe the people who are around us now, the situations are around us now, they're aligning with us because we're presenting someone who we are not. And so that's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. That relationship between authenticity and loss. Fear. Let's see. Desmond is saying, you're less sociable than ever, but more comfortable in your own skin. I love that. And you know what? Like, that might change. Like, there might be a time when you do feel like you do feel called to be more sociable, or you do feel more called to just go out in the world and be a person and do that. And I think it's okay to have these different seasons. Like, maybe you're just having like a hermit tarot card season right now, and that's okay. To be honest, I kind of am also having a hermit tarot card season. And you know what? It feels kind of great, you know, because I think the beautiful thing about the hermit tarot card, I know we didn't pull it today, but just for the sake of it, what Desmond said brought it to mind. But the message of the hermit tarot card is we can't really see ourselves until we like are comfortable cutting out the noise. You know, we can't really listen to the true heartbeat of ourselves, the authenticity of who we are, until we're willing to isolate ourselves a little bit and to just stop giving a fuck about the other. It's like we have to don't tone out the other in a moment to like hear who we are. And I guess that's related to the Lovers card that we pulled earlier today. It's interesting stuff. And I think it really is just about human nature, living a good life, being happy, feeling like we are being ourselves, feeling like we're living up to our potential, feeling like our relationships are actually meaningful rather than just bullshit, which I think is interesting. Let's see, Desmond is saying the guys you socialize with now are older than you and more settled. Yeah, and that just might be the energy that you're in right now. And like, you could probably learn something from those dudes, you know? I think it's cool to hang out with people from different walks of life, like especially older people. Like certain older folks, obviously age isn't everything, but certain older folks are going to have that perspective of time. And there's definitely been some times when, for whatever reason, like maybe I'm wearing a sports thing or shoes, sneakers, or whatever. There's been times when I've been on the subway, on the bus, on the streetcar, and some random ass old person has started up a conversation with me. Men, women, whatever, who are like 60, 70, 80. And I love talking to them. They're so interesting. And each and every one of these people, I've always asked, like, what is your advice for a young person today? Like, what is something that you regret about life? What is something that is a lesson that you want to share with people? And they're so interesting. They're so interesting. And I feel like it's always been something unexpected that I've learned. It's just interesting interactions. And so I think that's cool to like go out of your comfort zone or just go out of who you usually would be socializing with. Yeah, they do drop knowledge, because it is a gift to be alive, touch wood, for this long. It really is. It's a blessing. I know people complain about getting older, but getting older is beautiful as a blessing, and it's a privilege that not everyone gets to experience. And so I think it is something that needs to be cherished and appreciated. Whenever people complain about getting older, I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. That's how I feel about it. Because it is such a privilege to grow older. It really is. And I've known quite a few people who have died young. I'm sure a lot of y'all have too. It's craziness. It's craziness. Yep. Well, this was a fun chat. Kind of unexpected. Well, I guess feel free to, push me in whatever direction when I do these, because these are usually intended to just be like a tarot chat. Here's the cards. Bye. But it is nice to just do a live and talk about random shit with you guys. I feel like I used to do this on Instagram all the time, and I haven't done Instagram lives for a while. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I feel better doing the lives on YouTube these days, like, for so many reasons. But it is nice to hang with you guys. It really is. What a fun convo. And Scruffy, feel free to say hi to me on Instagram, because I don't feel like I know what your Instagram is. But I'm glad that you guys are feeling the authenticity, and I really appreciate the props for speaking up on the thing, on the politics, and because I feel like not a lot of people have this perspective that I have, or like, and I love my witchy people, but not everyone is like as analytical or as, I don't know, informed about things, whatever we want to make that mean. But a lot of people in the space have been very disappointed to me on how they've dealt with a lot of this shit. But what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? Does anyone else have any more things you want to talk about? This was fun, though. Thank you guys for letting me ramble about this stuff. And I appreciate the acknowledgement of the ripple, because you don't always know when you make a ripple and like positively impact other people to be more authentic and true to themselves. Sorry, guys. She like will not shut the fuck up. That's okay. She just wants a hug. She wants a hug and food, but you're not going to get food, so you can get a hug. Well, I hope everyone's doing great. This was really fun chat. You think that the RZA is an underrated philosopher. That's probably true. I'm not as familiar with what they have had to say. I've been reading and listening to a lot of stuff by, like public intellectuals and academics who are critical about all this stuff. And so that's also given me some strength and permission, and I don't know, it's helped me be more fearless. But I will say the main catalyst for this, for me, was that total solar eclipse and being in that energy. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. You guys are so cool, and for chatting and just being so genuine. Like, this is the cool thing, though, about people leaving and people like disconnecting from my space, is that it kind of self-selects for like the best kind of people to be left. You know what I mean? So I feel like everyone in my community, for instance, like all my clients, like every tarot client I've had in the last long time, everyone in my community, my Claim Your Magic community, everyone, like everyone in any of my courses right now. I'm thinking of everyone in all of my group coaching experiences. Everyone is fucking amazing. Amazing. Compassionate, kind, extends me grace, extends each other grace, inquisitive, curious, thoughtful, non-blaming, open-minded. Everyone's just fucking cool who's left over. So that's nice. And so I love that, you know. So on one hand, it can suck for people to leave when we're more authentic, but it's also kind of nice because everyone who is left over ends up being like my favorite kind of people ever, who I just feel so blessed to share space with. And let's see, Desmond is reading, I'm going to say this wrong, Kahinde, how do you say that? Andrews and Robert Greene. Robert Greene is a fave. I love that guy. What a dude. What a dude. I have got a book next to me that says The Canceling of the American Mind. I'm excited to finish that. I think it'll be cool. But anyway, I should probably get going now, you guys. Wow, it's 6 p.m. I love that the sun is setting so much later. It looks like it's 2 p.m. outside, but it is not. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. This was really fun. So thank you for bringing this up and inviting me to speak on this, because I've really been like, oh God, am I alienating everybody by talking about this? But at the same time, I'm glad that we have some fellow like politically minded, politically curious, interested, inquisitive, curious, open-minded people up in here. So I appreciate y'all. You guys are fucking awesome. Double high five through the screen. And thank you for sharing some of your day with me, for sharing space with me, for sharing time with me, sharing your thoughts, your feelings. I appreciate you guys. And thank you for hanging out for the tarot reading. I hope you guys found that useful. And if you logged on a little bit late, I'm going to be posting this in like 2 seconds, so you'll be able to watch it from the beginning and hear all of those cards if you happen to miss them. Okay, that's it from me for now, friends. Talk to you guys soon. See you next week. Have a great beginning of May. Bye.